Human capital, don't forget about it. I had a question earlier about the importance of human capital. One quick story for you about the transaction that I was involved in, somewhat responsible for, not really responsible for. This was back in the late 90s. As you all probably remember, there was Al Gore just invented the internet, and there was a lot of activity around it. The company was involved in the development of websites. At that time, those were the people that showed up to work in jeans and sandals, sat on the floor and wrote code all day. But the development of a website was just one part of an overall marketing program, right? Usually at the board level or the management team level, somebody made some decision about how a website fit into their overall marketing strategy. So we looked at it and we said, you know what, there might be something to bolting on through acquisitions some strategic planners, McKinsey types, Accenture types, that could go in and talk to the boards and the management teams about their strategy that would feed into this development work. And then, by the way, you're going to have to advertise your site down the line, so we want to acquire an interactive ad agency that can handle all the ad placements on an ongoing basis. It looked great on paper. It was wonderful. During our IPO, one of the analysts asked our CEO, so how are you going to get the strategic consultants who show up to work in suits and ties every day to talk to the developers who show up in sandals and sit on the floor? Our CEO was a McKinsey consultant who said, well, I'm sitting here in a tie today, but I don't wear a tie to work every day. So it was probably glossed over an issue. Now, what do you think happened after the merger? They never talked. I remember one of our most exciting offices was in New York. We had a lot of growth up there, but it was primarily the people that designed the sites. And they were used to working for a 26-year-old entrepreneur who came up with a great business idea and created this great culture. And now we had the suits roll in. And every time the suits walked in, you could see the dynamic change in that office. We were never successful in achieving the synergies that we expected to, and it was primarily because of a difference in culture. So, it's the soft side of mergers. It's not as exciting to talk about, and sometimes you sort of say, well, the numbers make sense. Well, you know what? The numbers may not make sense if you think about the contradictions in the cultures of the company. Make sure your key employees are locked up early. Communicate as much as you can to your employees. Be ready for a roadshow day one when you acquire a business. The company that I sold to about 10 years ago had it wired. So they rented out the convention center when we still had that, and all of our employees were carted over the day of the announcement. They had people ready to talk to them about their benefits, about the 401k, answer any of their questions, and that just helps eliminate, again, that risk associated with uncertainty of having employees walk out the door. Share and reward successes, advertise it. Make sure that your integration plans reflect the value drivers. One of the great questions we had earlier was, is there any sort of bright line about when you should integrate and when you shouldn't? Think about what you're buying. Does it make sense to turn it up on its head? Maybe the best thing to do is to leave it the way it is. And then last step, make sure you have a succession plan in place. Understanding that you may do all these things very well, and you still may not understand the motivations of the seller. We had a company that we bought up in Seattle, and we heard everything. The CEO wanted to stay on board. He was going to help us grow the business. He signed a long-term employment contract. It was great. I think it was the day after closing, maybe exaggerating a little bit. He disappeared to start racing cars. I was going to put his picture up on this. There's pictures of him pouring champagne into this big trophy. We lost him, and it created a pretty significant issue for the organization, and there wasn't really a contingency plan in place, so we had a 3 or 6 month window where we were scrambling to try to find somebody to lead the people there. So make sure you have a contingency plan.